Here we go.
Oh, it's live. Oh, it's live.
It's time.
Yes, sir. About to make it do what it do, baby.
Oh, let's get it.
Gary's got the brass.
Talkin Sports.
Yeah, that's right.
Love it. Love it.
Brazil. Gary's in the house. We appreciate all the love here. We are ecstatic again to jump on another amazing edition of Talkin Sports for the 12th man. The draft is over. NBA playoffs is going on. Baseball. We have the aftermath. NHL hockey. If you're, obviously to that's another thing to talk about too briefly. We'll dip our toe, even though that's more of a big area. But that's, again, it's all fun, man. So we're gonna have some fun. And without further ado, my GMs, how you guys feeling this evening? What's going on, Rob? How you feeling?
Man, feeling great. Couldn't be better. Ready to get this show started. Yes.
Love it. Gary is firing some amazing ideas in the chat, so I appreciate you as well. Mr. Gary, how you feeling this evening, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. The one thing I wanted to say before we get going is NBA player Stan Love passed away, Kevin Love's father. I believe 76. They sat right next to Arnetta and I at the Blazer games. So I got to talk with him a few times, but how I met him was trash talking their son, not knowing that they're the parents of Kevin Love.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not knowing it. Minnesota, Lamarcus is lighting him up, and I'm just like, oh, dang, eat him for lunch, and I'm saying all kinds of stuff. And normally in the 100 level of any stadium, that's not where your fans are. Your fans are up in the cheap seats.
Mm-hmm.
But I was one of the obnoxious ones that were, I guess could afford the cheaps, the 100 level. Anyway, so I hear
Gary, just in case you want to know.
I hear his wife say, "Oh no, Kevin, not again." And I'm looking over there, and I'm like, "Oh, I think they know him, So, and then he stands up, and this guy's really tall. I'm like, God, that's his dad. And then so I kind of toned it down, and in different games we socialized a little bit, but not that we were friends, but just hello, hey, how you doing, type of a thing. But nice guy.
Oh yeah, you were gonna never be their friend, man. You were dogging out their son.
Oh yeah. I didn't get a invite.
He was the
maybe that was why I didn't get the big invite to the barbecue.
No.
But hey,
you were the Tyrese Halliburton dad thing, right? You were the dad like Tyrese Halliburton. How you were kind of like that was your kind of role, kind of going in, if you will.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Yes. R.I.P. Man. Man, we appreciate.
And that's kind of a famous
Gary,
family, because he's also the brother of the Beach Boys singer Stan Love. Kevin Love's uncle is the Mike Love, the singer of the Beach Boys, is his uncle. So just to throw that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, bringing it tonight. Love it. Good stuff. Again, we love this, and shout out to Marcy. Yes, she said she loves the early start. It's a great distraction from the Warriors right now. Yeah, it's just it's not pretty at this juncture too. So we'll see if they can make a comeback. But we got a lot of things to.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
pretty rough.
That's been one of the best series. Even though Golden State's up 3-1, it doesn't seem like it's a close series. But to me, that's been one of the most entertaining series to watch. I mean, I sent you guys. There was like a clip that someone made online about how physical that series has been. I think I forwarded that clip to you guys, and how they're actually just beating up each other on the court.
They're doing wrestling moves and whatnot. That was hilarious. They're clotheslining folks coming down.
It's been one of the most entertaining series to watch. I mean, obviously Golden State has Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, two guys. I mean, obviously Houston doesn't really have anybody of that caliber on their team, but they have a deep young team, right? And then Alfred Sengun, I mean, he's coming into his own, a heck of a player in center. Jalen Green is kind of hit and miss, right? They got to get him to be a little bit more consistent if they're going to be successful. Fred VanVleet, of course, stepping up in the last game, shooting the basketball. Draymond Green almost got ejected in the last game, right? But he was still on the floor at the end of that game and got a huge defensive stop in game 4 against Alfred Sengun and kind of sealed that victory right there, right? So, I mean, that's been one of my favorite series to watch. I know that they're not playing. I mean, it's not a close game tonight, but that has been one of the most entertaining playoff series, in my opinion, so far.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, stuff. All right, well, let's throw out all of the pertinence for those that are following it. And we like this because, again, we're streaming on YouTube and Facebook. And again, we're just kind of getting our sea legs. And stay tuned. We've got a lot of exciting things happening in the future. But if you want to follow us, we have a couple different ways to reach out to us and follow us. Number one, Twitter X, which is at 12th Man Sports. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/Talkin Sports the 12th Man. Or if you type in Talkin Sports, the 12th Man, or 12th Man Sports, you will find us. We are on YouTube at another 12th Man Sports, and that's kind of literally that little stream at the bottom. That's where we're happening. And stay tuned. Again, we're building it as they come, as they say. So we're gonna have a lot of things that are going to be pretty exciting, as they say. But obviously, Facebook is great. Rob posts those amazing videos, and we'll get some Instagram stuff later. Rob, and mock drafts. We're already going to talk about 2026 after we get through a couple things. But without further ado, I guess, I want to get everyone's take here. Your thoughts about it. Very interesting draft weekend. Rob, I don't know if you want to start with your team and kind of, how you feel, how they did, and then we'll go to Gary and we'll wrap it up. We'll kind of talk about some topics here, and very, very entertaining weekend, if you will.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Saints draft, I think I would have to give them somewhere around a B or a B plus. I love the first round pick of Kelvin Banks. Obviously, it gives the Saints 2 bookend tackles. Obviously, they drafted Teliase Fuaga at tackle last year, right? And he had a phenomenal rookie year. Kelvin Banks was the highest rated player on my board when the Saints picked at number 9. I had him as my 6th best overall player in the draft. So I love that pick, right? And Tyler Show, the quarterback from Louisville, who we picked up in the 2nd round, I've actually had him mocked in quite a few of my mocks to the Saints in the 2nd round, right? So I did have him a 2nd round grade, but I guess the problem for me with this pick is, I didn't think Shedeur Sanders would be on the board, right? And so I got to give the Saints a little bit of a ding here for taking Tyler over Shedeur Sanders, right? Obviously, he's a Saint now. I'm rooting for him. I'm going to root for anybody that's on the Saints team. But even though I had a 2nd round grade on Tyler, and even though I had a couple of mock drafts where I had the Saints taking him in the 2nd round, those mocks did not have Shedeur Sanders on the board at the same time, right? So I got to give us a slight ding on that pick. Vernon Brockton, a big defensive tackle from Texas, love that pick, 6'5", 311 pounds. I think he'll come in and at least be a rotational defensive tackle. I don't know if he'll start from day one, but the Saints haven't stopped the run very well the last couple of years, so that's a big get for the Saints at the defensive tackle position. Jonas Senker, the safety we got in the 3rd round from Virginia. Love that pick too as well. And obviously he's a tackling machine and a ball hawk as well. So really good pick there in the 3rd round for the Saints. Riley, the cornerback from Louisville, also was a really good pick in the 4th round for the Saints. Like Devin Neal, the running back, in the 6th round. We drafted a tight end from UCLA in the 7th round. I thought he was maybe an undrafted free agent guy. I didn't think he was going to be a guy that was going to get drafted. So I got to give him a slight ding on that pick. Love Fidel Diggs, the edge rusher we got from Syracuse. I had a 5th round grade on him, and we got him in the 7th round. So obviously there's some value there at getting him with that particular pick. So I would say somewhere around a B or B plus for the Saints, in my opinion.
Good.
Very nice. Your turn, Gary. What are your thoughts about the Cowboys?
As I mentioned this weekend on Rob's sports talk, it wasn't a sexy draft. It wasn't anything like I expected them to do in the first round. Although I should have expected them to do something like that with the retirement of Zach Martin to bring in a player to potentially replace him and try and fill his shoes, which is going to be tough. But Tyler Booker, I gave him an A- on that grade. In our second round, we took an edge rusher from Boston College, I believe, Donovan. How do you pronounce his last name, Rob?
Ezeruku.
Edge.
That was a steal getting him in the second round. That was
as we talked about that, and I looked into that more. I gave him a A on that. Savon Revell Jr., cornerback. I think that's an A grade on that on that selection too. They went for running back in the 5th round, which I was hoping for a running back, in the first, second, or 3rd round. But they went for Jaden Blue. I gave them a B+ on that pick.
Giving picks for each. He's giving grades for each pick. I love it.
You got to. Shadeur James, linebacker. That's a C+ grade on that particular selection in the 5th round. The Cornelius, the offensive tackle for Oregon, I liked him at Oregon. I watched him quite a bit. I gave him an A- on that 6th round pick. Jay Toa, defensive tackle. I gave them a B on that particular pick. They need defensive tackle help, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And then this Phil Maffa, this running back, I gave them a B on that. But in short yardage situations, he's gonna really help out. So overall, I'll give the Cowboys an A- overall for their pick.
That's about where I graded the Cowboys too on their draft. Tyler Booker was a slight reach at 13, but he was obviously still a first-round graded player, right? So I don't think it's too big of a reach. Getting Ezeruko in the 2nd round and getting Shavon Rev in the 3rd round to me were complete steals, right? Ezeruko was a late 1st, early 2nd round pick. Shavon Revel was the 2nd round pick, right? And you get him in the 3rd. Jaden Blue, I had a 3rd round grade on him. You get him in the 5th round. So overall, I thought the Cowboys had a hell of a draft. You're spot on. I think I had him like an A- as well.
And how about your team?
Good stuff. Now, my team, the Falcons, Gary, is that what you're talking about? You talking about my team?
That's your team, right?
I mean, I'm very biased. I'm going to give us a solid A, man. I was thoroughly happy with what happened in the draft. And I think, shout out, we had a fun time. I think that was fun during the show, during the draft. That was pretty fun, us commenting on the picks and what not to do. That was
I think we had the most on our show that we ever did on our show last Thursday too. So that was really good.
We had the most what? We had the most what, Rob? The most what, Rob? Oh yeah, it was really engaging. Yeah, it was good stuff. I was gonna say that I mean, to see how, and we were texting back and forth, and I think, Rob, whenever I was like saying once like Jalen Walker didn't get drafted by the Panthers at 8, I was like, hey Rob, what do you think is happening? Do you think he's gonna keep falling? And it was kind of shocking, right? I'm like, okay, what about this team? What about this team, right? And then whenever it got close to us getting it, I'm like, the 49ers, whenever they got Michael Williams, I'm like, oh, this is interesting, right? So I didn't think that Jalen was going to fall to us. So he falls to us. You get the Georgia fans happy because you get Jalen Walker. I mean, you talk about a chess piece. That dude is like, I shudder to think if he could be anything close to like Michael Parsons light. I mean, I'm loving that because he can be a chess piece. You can move him play linebacker, edge, say he can play all these different positions. So I'm excited about that pick.
That was a good pick.
A great pick. Then you can Then you come around, and I know everyone is going to give the Falcons like flack about this, but you trade up and get James Pierce. I think they would have taken James Pierce at 15 if he was there, like, or trade back. I mean, I don't think they were trading back, but that's the player. But they were like, he's actually here at 15, Jalen Walker. So then they trade back in, and all the fans are like, oh my God, I can't believe you gave up a first round pick next year. But you got to go all in. So it's kind of like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. We got 2 edges, guys. Let that go. So everyone's like criticizing us for getting no. We get 2, we still get criticized. Then you turn around, trade again. You end up getting Xavier Watts, ball hawking safety. Jesse Bates is like his, again, his favorite player. I'm like, you get 2 ball hawking safeties. Love that pick. Come back around. I wasn't sure about Billy Bowman. I'm like, who is this guy? So again, he's going to play, the slot corner. So he's going to match up against a lot of those, tight ends and challenges we have to. You add that. Then you turn around and you get a development tackle with Jack Nelson. That was okay. But it's interesting because I thought that, Jared Wilson was going to be there. Obviously, he was right before the Patriots. I hate the Patriots again. Sorry. They picked, him before. We're like, oh, man. But then it turns into a better pick. So I'm like, you know what? We'll take that. And then we'll talk a little bit later because we're going to talk about the undrafted picks. Us picking up Nick Nash, that was a great pickup. Us getting Kobe Bryant from Kansas, didn't think that was going to happen. Quincy Skinner, we'll talk about that. I mean, then we get Joshua Gray. He was a center. So I'm like, they pretty much nailed the 8th round, getting a lot of undrafted, free agents. So I'm ecstatic, man. We kind of filled our needs. It feels like, Terry Fontenot is getting like a lot of flack, but he was able again with the 5 picks. We nailed it. Then you come back around and get some undrafted free agents. I think are going to make some impacts. Kobe Bryant, that was a steal. I'm surprised he was undrafted, man. So we're just like, yes, sir. Let's go.
Kobe Bryant, I had him, get him as an undrafted. I agree with you. That was a complete steal. I had him somewhere around the 4th or 5th round, and then you get him as an undrafted guy. So that was definitely a steal for Atlanta to get him in the undrafted range for sure. When I look at this Falcons draft, it's almost probably deserves an incomplete grade. But if I had to give him a grade right now, I would give him a B or B plus. The only reason I won't give them an A, the reason why I say it's incomplete, they got to wait and see how this season ends out this year. If the Falcons miss the playoffs this year and have a bad season, then trading that first round pick is going to turn out to be a huge failure, right? And so that's why I say it's kind of part complete. But if the Falcons win this year and have a great season, then I bump this draft grade up to an A, right? And obviously, the value of the Falcon picks, I had no problem with that. Getting Jalen Walker at 15, I thought was great. Getting Pierce at 26, great value there, right? Getting Xavier Watts, who I had a 2nd round grade on, getting him in the 3rd was, I thought, very good value there. Billy Bowman, I had him as a 4th rounder and a 3rd rounder. So a slight reach there, in my opinion, on Billy Bowman. And, of course, Jack Nelson was kind of drafted right where I kind of thought he would go, somewhere in the 7th round. As an offensive tackle from Wisconsin. So from a value perspective, the only one I thought was a reach was Billy Bowman, the safety from Oklahoma, right?
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, we didn't see that coming either. We're like, who is this guy? But he had.
I think it's going to come down to, for me, I think we're going to have to wait a year to officially grade this. Well, most of these drafts, you really got to wait 2 to 3 years before you officially grade them, right? But if we give them a grade now, I would have to say a B or a B plus. Similar to what I graded the Saints, only because they traded the 1st round pick in next year's draft. And if it turned out to have a bad season this year, then you gave up possibly a top 10 or top 15 pick in next year's draft, which is not going to help your program.
It's tough.
Well,
it's a tough call.
Say it's an A. I gave him a A minus. I thought it was outstanding. And like you alluded to, Rob, you can't give him an incomplete. I mean, it's just you have to grade what's there. And any of us, if our drafts flop, well, guess what? We're all screwed. We're screwed the next year.
Hey, look, I've had some drafts where I gave a low grade and it turned out to be great, and I've had some drafts where I gave them a great grade and it turned out to be bad. So you never really can tell, right?
You don't know. You're shooting for the moon and.
Yeah,
But some of these guys on tape, man, they're legit.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I gave Detroit Lions a bad grade on their draft, and man, Jameer Gibbs and Sam Laporta, man, alone made that graphic A right there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they were saying most people don't want to give
oh,
Fs anymore because they're if you can get viral, like somebody take a screen capture, like you gave this team an F, and it turns out that I think one of the draft guys that literally talked about that, Rob, they gave the Lions an F, and that was probably one of their best drafts, like you said.
Well,
So
and that's the same thing, and that's way most of these, most of these things go. They don't want to give an A or an A plus, and they don't want to give an F. They got to cover them. I'm going to give them a B plus or A minus, and I'm going to give them a C minus or maybe a D plus if it's just.
Yeah, I remember that draft from 2 years ago. I gave the Lions a C, and now if I got to regrade that draft, I'm giving them an A. So
Right.
2 years ago, I gave them a C with that draft, and look, I thought they reached for Jameer Gibbs. Hey, they proved me wrong. Sam Laporta's turned out to be a flat out steal in the third round for the Lions in that draft, right? So if I had to regrade that draft today, it would definitely be an A. But a couple years ago, I gave him a C on that draft. I remember it like it was yesterday. I go back and look at the draft grades too.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that too. That's one of the topics. And like I said, I think everyone is going to have different, opinions and whatnot. And I just think for us, for having 5 picks, it was like, a little. It wasn't a lot of draft capital, and then for us to come out with 2 edges and then getting a safety, like we needed a safety. I know we signed Jordan Fuller. You end up getting a steal in Xavier Watts. Love that pick, because it reminds me of Kyle Hamilton. He's not like that, but I'm saying you get like a great ball hawking safety. Again, maybe it's a reach for Billy Bauman, or Bowman, whatever. And then Jack. So that was like, we got the edges. We're like, shut up, NFL. Everyone knows we're getting we needed an edge. We get 2, y'all still crap on us. But then, like you said, Rob, we don't know what's going to happen. But at least for now, you got to keep taking shots.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get, an edge person nowadays, without overpaying.
Yeah.
So just keep on drafting.
Hey, look, I know some people moved James Pierce down to the second round. I wasn't one of those people. I had him number 21 overall, I believe. So I don't have any problem with the value where you pick Pierce. It's just going to come down to how well the Falcons do this year and what kind of first round pick they're trading for next year.
Yeah, I mean, the defense was atrocious, man. I mean, you had to fix that. So, again, I'm not going to spend all the time talking about my team because we got other things to talk about. But at least, I guess, from the interim, where I'm ecstatic. I'm like, man, I actually feel like we knocked it out the park. And the undrafted free agents, that is icing on the cake. I'm like, man, we are good to go. So we're excited. But, everyone may think a little differently. So let's talk about we are going to get into some best values and some, kind of who we think the best players are. But just really, really quickly, Rob, let's talk about really an early look at the 2026 NFL draft. This draft seems to be the draft for quarterbacks now. Obviously, you got Arch Manning, Garrett Meyer. You got a ton of quarterbacks, it seems like here. I'm looking at a couple of Cade Klubnik from Clemson, Lenora Sellers. I mean, if you're looking for a quarterback, maybe, Drew Aller from Penn State, Caleb Downs. You got a lot of situations here. You got a lot of quarterbacks, Rob.
Yep.
So what's kind of if you can kind of sneak peek into 2026, like what is that draft heaviest and going into
absolutely. You hit it. I think you touched on it already. Quarterback heavy draft on next year in the first round, similar to what we had last year when we had 6 quarterbacks going to top 12 picks of the draft, right? So next year's draft is going to be definitely real quarterback heavy in 2026. Matter of fact, for all of our listeners and viewers, if you go to our Talkin Sports with a 12th Man Facebook page, I just posted my top 32 prospects for the 2026 NFL draft. So an early look at 2026. And what do you know? Number 1, another Manning, Arch Manning, quarterback in Texas, right? Dual threat, can throw it, he can run it, he's accurate. You can make a case that he should have been a starter last year over Quinn Ewers, right? Got a number 1 overall pick in next year's draft if he comes out of Texas. Another Manning, number 1 overall, right? Of course, Eli and Peyton's nephew. Drew Aller, quarterback, Penn State, number 2. 2 quarterbacks right there. And look, Drew Aller, this is going to be a big year for him because I think he still has some work to do on his accuracy a little bit, but there's no question about his arm talent. He's got the physical tools. He's got the size as well. I just think he's going to have to improve his accuracy a little bit. And if he does that, he could possibly be the number 1 pick in the draft next year. Number 3, another quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from South Carolina, right? Another dual threat guy who can run it and he can throw it, right? South Carolina had one of their best years in a long time in football. They had a great defense, a good quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. So 3 quarterbacks right from the jump at number 3. Number 4, Caden Proctor, big offensive tackle from Alabama, 6'7", 360. I mean, he's a monster out there in the field, right? So he's going to be probably the number 1 offensive tackle off the board, barring any kind of injury or anything like that. And then Clemson, once again, Clemson always does it, right? They always got great defensive linemen, and they've done it again going into the next football season. And, speaking of Clemson and Texas, I think next year they will probably be the 2 programs with the most NFL prospects in the 2026 draft. So those are going to be 2 programs you're going to want to watch next year if you're looking for NFL talent. Texas and Clemson. I mean, there's a few others. Alabama's got a lot of talent. Oregon's got a lot of talent. But Clemson and Texas is definitely going to be 2 to watch. T.J. Parker will be the best edge rusher in college football next year for Clemson, right? And so I have him at the number 5 position. Clemson is loaded on the defensive line for next year. Number 6, Garrett Nussmeier, another quarterback, LSU, right? Got a rocket for an arm as well. Obviously, his dad was the NFL quarterback. His dad is actually the offensive coordinator for the Saints now under the Kellen Moore regime right down the road. So Garrett Nussmeier at the number 6 position. Number 7, Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State, right? Normally you don't see a lot of safeties go this high in the draft, but Caleb Downs is that good. He was probably one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in college football last year on a national championship team. Gary will like this one. Number 8, Francis Magawa, offensive tackle, Miami, right? So he's that number 8. Keldrick Falk, edge rusher, defensive end from Auburn at number 9. And we talked about Texas. Anthony Hill, linebacker from Texas at the number 10 spot. I'll hop around a little bit, some big names. Number 14, Jeremiah Love, best running back in the draft next year from Notre Dame. Look for him to have a big year next year. We talked about that Clemson defensive line. Peter Woods might be the best defensive tackle in college football next year for Clemson, right? I have him at number 16. Another quarterback, Nico Amaleva, quarterback, UCLA now, transferring from Tennessee to UCLA. I have him at number 17. He's another one that's going to have to improve his accuracy, but the talent is there. He's got the arm talent. He's got mobile feet. He knows how to move those puppies and run when he needs to, right? So I have him at number 17. Number 20, Cade Klubnik, quarterback Clemson. And once again, Clemson's got a lot of pro prospects on their roster next year. And he can arguably possibly move into the top 10, right? So pay attention to that with Cade Klubnik. Danny Dennis Sutton, edge rusher from Penn State. Seems like Penn State's got an edge rusher every year in the draft, right? Goes in the first round. Got Abdul Carter, Micah Parsons. You're going to have another one. Now, Danny Dennis Sutton might not be as good as those 2 guys, but he should be a first-round pick in next year's draft. And I'll stop there. But you all can see the complete list. Go to our Talkin Sports with a 12-man Facebook page.
I'm impressed, Rob. I'm impressed already. We just got done. And here you go again.
That's what they do. That's what they do, Gary. I mean, whenever is over, they are like, well, look, go to next year. Literally, all the top, prognosticators, and even like Rob, they're already projecting what's happening and going into next year too. Right after that first draft, well, these are the top players for 2026. You're like, what? So it's. I'm excited that Rob was already on it. So he posted it again, as mentioned. Going to highlight that in his hard work on our Talkin Sports Facebook page. So excellent job, because we can't rest on our laurels already. We're already ready. The season hasn't even started. And I can't wait to take a screen capture of this, Rob, to see what actually happens. Because I think whenever Jaden Daniels got drafted, he was projected to be like the number 8 pick, yet he was number 2, right? And then same thing like Cam Ward. Like this year, I don't think Cam Ward was number 1, right? And maybe Shedeur was number 1. unbelievable how things change.
Yeah.
You know, Quinn Ewers was the top, you know, going to that. Carson Beck was pretty high. He's not even in the draft. So it's just interesting how things obviously change.
And you mentioned Jaden Daniels. Going into his senior year, he was probably looked at as like a third-round pick at best, right? He moved all the way up to number 2 in the draft. And then his rookie season, he takes his team to the NFC Championship game. Unbelievable, right? Joe Burrow, same way. You know, Joe Burrow was considered at the start of the season a 5th-round pick. He moved all the way up to number 1 overall, led his team to the national championship at LSU, and then he became the number 1 pick in the draft. He was a 5th-round pick going into that season. So
that's crazy. And then we can talk about the reverse, like Quinn Ewers was like, you know, 5-star review, 5-star recruit. He was a 7th-round draft pick. You're like, what is going on?
Quinn Ewers takes it the other way, right? You know, coming into the season, he was the top 10 pick, and he was dropped all the way to the 7th round.
Yeah. We'll talk about Dylan Gabriel. We'll talk about a couple things, you know, obviously the Browns and what's happening too. We're going to kind of talk about let's kind of be brief about some rookie projections for Travis Hunter. What do you think about him and how he's going to play, Rob? And then we'll go to you, Gary. Your thoughts?
Look, I don't project Travis Hunter to be the offensive rookie of the year. I don't project him to be the defensive rookie of the year. But if they had a overall best rookie, then he will be my pick because I think he's going to have an impact on both sides of the football, right? He's got that kind of versatility. And in a pinch, you probably could put him back there to return punts or kickoffs too, right? If you need a score and you're down and you just need somebody to make something happen, he's that kind of player. He'll have that kind of impact on the game. So I think he's going to be the best overall rookie next year, but I'm not going to say he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year or the defensive rookie of the year. I just think he's going to have an overall impact on that team right away.
I just hope he's not overused. You know what I mean? I hope he's not in there where he's going to be in harm's way for basically most of the entire game, because that's not fair to him in longevity for his career, which is what the game is today.
Yeah.
So get him in there on 15 plays, 10 plays on the offense, and put him back there as a lockdown corner. You know,
yeah.
Just and then, like you said, Rob, he's that guy that could spark the team. There was even talk on some of the sports that they'll just they'll have some plays for him directly out of the center, you know, playing quarterback. So we'll see how it goes. He's that good of a player.
Yeah.
But let's not do to him destroy his career early on.
Yeah. Some people view him as a better receiver than a defensive back. I view him as a better defensive back than receiver. I don't think he's a great route runner, but I personally think he should be a full-time defensive player and maybe include him in like 15 to 20 offensive plays, right? Some package plays, right? So to your point, not wearing him out completely, I think he can have an impact offensively, but I think he'd be better off being a full-time defensive player, similar to Deion, right? And use him for some package plays on offense. I mean, that's the way I envision him, but I know some people envision him as a better receiver. I don't.
Well, I agree with you. And those plays that I think that he would work well in is those goal line situations.
Mm-hmm.
One quick move. You don't have to run some lengthy route, and it's not a timing thing where you're going to get, you know, leveled by some safety over the middle or anything like that. I think down low, he's got great hands.
Yep.
Get him down there and catch a ball around bodies. That's where I envision him, is down at the goal line.
I think that's a good point. When you look at him offensively, I think you can run some reverse packages for him, right? You can run some reverses. I think also you can use him with some wide receiver screens, right? Get the protection, get the blocking out there, let him use his runs. And then I would use him on some deep patterns, right? Use him on some fly patterns, use his athletic ability, use his speed. I wouldn't run him over the middle and give him a risk of getting hit too often, right? Especially if you're going to be using him for these kind of plays. So I see Gary's point, goal line, some reverse plays, some wide receiver screens, and somehow take some shots down the field going deep with him occasionally.
Well, and the great thing about that is he's going to, as soon as they see him lining up out there, they're going to be focused on him.
Yep.
What a phenomenal decoy.
Exactly.
No.
Another
thing. Yeah.
Use him as a decoy, right? You can run some fake screens to him and go to opposite field to someone else. And you still got another good wide receiver on that team. Brian Thomas had a heck of a rookie year, right? Had over 1,200 yards receiving last year for Jacksonville, right? So there are some weapons. You got Etienne at running back. Had a solid couple of years as well, even though he kind of fell off a little bit last year, right? But there are some other weapons. You can definitely use him on some gadget plays as well.
Yep.
100% agree with that. What we're talking about, and I think for me, I think he just wants to make an impact. He's just excited to be drafted. You can tell that he loves playing football. So I'm excited about that too. So again, you may have to protect him from himself, as mentioned. So let him, concentrate on the defensive back side. Do make a nice impact for sure. So I think that's a good path for him. Speaking of offensive rookie of the year, I guess everyone's going to have different things. I like Ashton Gentry. I like him, I think, for the Raiders because I think that was a good pick, and selfishly, if James Pierce gets even like 6 to 8 sacks, that dude is like, we're gonna be happy for that too, man. So that's kind of where that's a stretch, but I'm just saying, like, anything that happened, any like pulse will get us something excited about too, man. So, but that's my kind of like Homer, if you will, Homer pick. So there you go.
Well, I think offensive rookie of the year, I totally agree with John Dre. I have Ashton Gentry as well, and this is a good award and an easy award for like star running backs coming into the league, right? Because number one, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, run the football. So when you look at his combined scrimmage yardage, I mean, he can easily have anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 yards, right? And Cam Ward, who I think will eventually be the best quarterback in this draft, he may not have the most impact as a rookie, right? Because they're not set up for success just yet. So I think offensive rookie of the year, I totally agree with you, Ashton Gentry. Defensive rookie of the year, I like Abdul Carter, right? I mean, this kid had 23 and a half tackles for loss, 14 sacks last year. The way he dominated in the college football playoffs this past year, the way they can move him around. I mean, he seems like another Michael Parsons in the making, right? He can drop in coverage. He can rush the passer.
Yeah.
He can stop the run. I view Abdul Carter as the defensive rookie of the year, in my opinion.
Nice.
Agreed. I agree with you on both counts. I think just with the touches that Gentry's going to have, if the Raiders use him the way they should, that should be a brand.
They will.
I think with Pete Carroll being head coach, they will. I think he will assure that they use him properly, right? Running the football, using him on some screen games, getting the ball out of the backfield. I think they'll definitely use him as a weapon. But you didn't draft him as the number 6 overall player not to utilize him in that manner.
Let's talk about a couple of things here, and we can kind of tie a couple of these topics. Number one, well, we'll see what you guys are thinking about. The best long-term QB from this draft. And this is an interesting question, right? Because you could say Cam Ward, but what about the most talked about player, Shedeur Sanders? Do you think that just him getting on a squad is going to really fire him up to try to prove everybody wrong, right? And again, we talk about his accuracy. Talked about, he's not, JQ jumping around. He's, again, he may surprise us, right? So this is a situation. Welcome, JQ. We're kind of talking about your favorite player, Shedeur Sanders. Who's going to be the long-term QB, right? That's the question, right? And I think it's because that motivation, right? Because everyone passed on him. So now he's got that, you have a chip, but now you got a huge ass chip on your shoulder. Like, okay, can he pick it? Okay, I think I can beat this guy. Joe Flacco is 100 years old. Okay. I'm going to show them, why, everyone kind of proved me wrong. So that's an interesting question. That's who I think, it could be a Cam Ward, but I'm just I think Shadeur's got a lot to prove, man.
No, I think you're spot on. I'm going to go with Cam Ward he was obviously number one pick in the draft. That's probably the easy answer, right? Who I think is going to be the best quarterback in this draft. I look at his work ethic, right? This guy was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. Zero. Not 1 star, not 2 star, not 3 star. This dude was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. Went to Incarnate Word, worked his butt off, went to Washington State, worked his butt off, had a great year last year in Miami, right? When you look at what he's done, I mean, he has the capability of buying additional time in the pocket. He's got a strong arm. And what I like about him, he's got it between the ears too, right? And so this guy's a student of the game. And that's what a lot of the coaches and the scouts loved about him, right? So I actually think we haven't even seen the ceiling yet of Cam Ward. I think he's got that kind of potential. I mean, we've seen him move around. Like I said, this guy worked his tail off from a 0-star recruit. So I think this is a kid that's going to be hungry, right? So I'm going to go with him. And Shedeur, obviously we can say, I mean, everybody's got different opinions about Shedeur Sanders, right? And I think he's got a lot to prove, right? Because obviously he's going to a team that picked the quarterback over him, which I thought was insane. Dylan Gabriel, Shadeur Sanders. Right?
Yeah,
he's not even as active.
Jackson Dart.
He's not even as talented. The Jackson Dart thing. Now look, I mean, you can make case Jackson Dart is more athletic. He can throw the football. I mean, there was some.
I'll share that clip. They had a clip at Jackson Dart at the combine. He was throwing like to the ground. Like, this is who he drafted. I was like, oh.
You can find people in Shedeur doing the same thing, right? I mean, so those are just people that are just finding something, right? I think Shedeur.
That's
this hopefully is going to happen. I'm rooting for him. I want to get a jersey, right? I want to get a Shedeur. I know he's already got a top selling jersey of all the rookies.
He sure does.
On this draft. The good thing is he's going to a team that doesn't have an established quarterback. But at the same time, this is a team that drafted you in the 5th round. So what does that tell you? If a team is drafting a quarterback in the 5th round, they view him as a backup quarterback. And you saw the guy, when they drafted him, it doesn't even look like the front office and the coaches were even excited.
Nope.
That was one of the most horrible claps I ever seen after they drafted a player, right? Everybody else, you go to everybody else's draft room, every time they draft a player, they're high-fiving each other, they're hugging and things of that nature. They didn't even seem like they were excited for drafting Shedeur Sanders, right? Now, look, I'm going to give the Browns a great grade for picking him in the 5th round because I had Shedeur going in the late 1st round. So I'm going to give them a good grade for getting him in the 5th round, right? And I think, like I said, he's going to a situation where, you just named it, Andre. Their quarterback room is not the most impressive, but at the same time, they did draft the kid in the 5th round. So at the moment, they don't view him as a starting quarterback. We do, but they don't.
JQ, you want to touch on this?
Yeah, because I'm be controversial. My dude from Louisville that went to New Orleans, I'm gonna go with him. Only because I say that in this.
We lost him.
Oh, hold on. We lost JQ. Hold on, JQ. Hold on. What happened?
Hold on.
JQ, what happened?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We got you. Go ahead. Can't see.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What I would say is, Ward's an easy one to talk about with Tennessee, but I don't pick him, and the reason why I don't pick Shedeur or Will Howard going to Pittsburgh, I think Will Howard, all three of them, of course, I think can win that job. But I'm gonna go with the kid that went to New Orleans from Louisville, only because that AFC is a monster. If you look at those divisions and what they're gonna have to deal with, it is going to be a lot harder to get out. And that's not to say the NFC is not bad. Is easy because you look at now what the NFC North has going on. All 4 of those teams now, look out. If JJ McCarthy turns into anything from Minnesota, and you see what Chicago did to build all the weapons around Caleb, like who doesn't come out of that? But to me, it just feels like it's not easier, but that NFC South is a lot more winnable to me than all the other divisions are available. So listen, we've seen Carl. He's up and down. He's out there preaching in church, talking about his shoulder. Listen, I feel bad for him and his baby and the miscarriage. I'm not trying to make light of that. I'm not. But we've talked about to New Orleans fans that don't even like Carr. So you go into that situation where they're ready for you to take that job anyway. and you can say, well, they tried to build around Bryce. They did. We'll see what happens with that, but Bryce is still really young. Same thing with Penix. Tampa is the one to beat to me if you're looking at the NFC South because you go get him in Buka with already. You lost me again? Hold on.
No, we hear you. Keep going. We got you.
No, I was agreeing with you.
We got
Tampa Bay is the team to beat in that division. I agree.
Yeah. So when I say that about it, the only reason why I picked what's my dude's name? His last name is something crazy. I just can't pronounce it. There, yeah, Tyler. Tyler's ass has got a really chance to go in and have an immediate impact. And depending on what that division does, be able to go in the next 3 to 4 years and say, hey, I came in here and really did this, depending on Penix and Bryce and everybody else. Shedeur and Will now, man, in that AFC North, and then you got to still talk about the Josh Allens and the Lamars and the Joe Burrows and the Patrick Mahomes. Like, whew, that's a tough task. So I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna go with Tyler, only because of everything that's around him.
Yeah, well, I hope you're right. I know there's still some question marks on this Derek Carr thing, right? The Saints are still adamant that if Carr is healthy, he's a starting quarterback. And but
we don't say that.
Yeah, we don't know we still don't know what's the total situation on this. The Saints have been tight-lipped. Derek Carr has been tight-lipped. I guess so we still don't really know if he's going to be ready to play the start of the year or if he's not. But the Saints are still saying that Carr is the starter if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Well,
but I like Tyler though. This guy's got a rocket for an arm. He's mobile. I said earlier in the show I had a second-round grade on him, but I still have to ding the Saints a little bit because I have Shedeur rated higher.
Shedeur Sanders didn't just get humbled. He got flat out embarrassed on national TV. If that isn't enough motivation right there to get that job, it would be for me. Absolutely. I'm not at that level by anything, but but
he's got an uphill battle though, because like I said, when you draft somebody in the 5th round, I mean, it's not impossible, right? But when you draft somebody in the 5th round, they don't view him as a starting quarterback.
I don't know if it's that they don't view if they view him just as a 5th round or if there were other things that caused that whole slide.
Yeah.
Personalities with the dad. Maybe Deion was calling. Maybe Shedeur went in, and a couple of them, the execs on the NFL channel today was talking about how they pointed out scenarios where he made a bad play. And instead of him saying, well, I should have done this differently had I looked over and whatever it was, whatever the scenario was, he just said, well, it looks like they both said, it looks like I'm not the guy for you. So maybe he just thought he had a hell of a lot more options. Then these guys, they're on the phone all draft long. These teams are on the phone with others. And if it's not, it's got to be somebody in that room on the phone with all these guys. And all of a sudden they're saying, hey, hold up on Shedeur Sanders, man. He's got a bad attitude there. His dad's butting in. Then you get the good old boy network, and that's what I believe happened with him. I don't believe for 1 minute that he's a 5th round talent. I believe he's a 1st round talent.
Yeah, agreed.
And with that said, as a 1st round talent, I think it's an easy thing for him to get in there and get that starting job, take that starting job away from the rest of those knuckleheads.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see the way. I know going into camp, when you look at who they got, obviously Deshaun Watson's not gonna be healthy. That he may miss the entire season, or at best maybe back sometime around the second half.
He may never play another down for the Browns. Not one down.
No way. No.
Probably right. But when you look at that room, right? Kenny Pickett, 1st round pick, played well at the end of last year. Obviously, was on a more talented Eagles team. I was surprised to see even Kenny Pickett's record. I mean, but I know he played on some good teams, though. He had the Eagles, he had some good Steelers team, but he's got a nice winning record as a starting quarterback in the NFL. He hasn't been spectacular, obviously. Obviously, you got 89-year-old Joe Flacco in the building, so it'd be probably more like a coach in there, right? And then you got Dylan Gabriel, who's a third rounder. And look, I'm still befuddled on how Dylan Gabriel got picked over Shedeur Sanders. I mean, I'm like really.
I like Dylan Gabriel as a quarterback for Oregon, but I knew damn well he was a 5th round, 6th round, maybe even undrafted.
No, I had him going in the 4th round. Now Cleveland took him in the 3rd, so I did have Dylan getting drafted in the 4th round. I mean, he's a mobile quarterback. He's pretty accurate. He's only 5'11", though. He doesn't have typical NFL measurables that you're looking for, right? And look, I don't think Shedeur Sanders has a bad attitude at all. I think Shedeur is a great kid. We don't know what all went on these interviews and things of that nature, right? But I mean, I from my perspective, he seems like he's a great kid, right? A grounded kid, a believer. He's a Christian, right? So from my view, I mean, he seems like a good kid, right? Obviously, I don't know how much of an impact Deion Sanders going on this Tamron Hall show and saying they're going to be selective on where he goes and how much that had an impact. Now, Deion changed his tune the closer we got to the draft, right? But I'm not sure how much that had an impact on some of those teams. But I mean,
Deion got enough of a heads up to say, hey, don't go to the show tonight. We're staying at home.
Exactly. I think when I sent you guys that, I think I sent you that picture. I said his camp obviously knew
someone that was loyal to the Sanders said, hey, I'm not supposed to say anything, but guess what? It's not going to happen tonight.
Yeah, when I saw that he wasn't going to be on the invite list, I was like, okay, they know he's going to fall in this draft because Deion loves the limelight, right? That would have been a great opportunity for him to showcase his brand, showcase the University of Colorado, right? And so if he was going to be a top 5, top 10 pick, Deion and Shedeur would have been in that building. When I saw he was not on that list, I was like, oh, he's falling in the draft. Did I think he was going to fall in the 5th round? No. But when I saw that was the first sign right there. He's falling in this draft.
I already told you they put the hit out.
Yeah, it was not a good.
We know
there's certain things like they give you glimpses of it, and they just tell you they just don't. Sorry, Marcy, they just don't give a fuck because you can say, okay, Cam Ward, number 1, cool, we know. Jackson Dart, we knew there was a flirtation between him and Jackson Dart between being the 2 and 3 quarterback in his class, but there's no chance in God's green creation that nobody thought that Jalen Milroe and Dylan Gabriel go before Shedeur Sanders. When they do that, and he's still sitting there, you're like, okay, the fix is in, and you're not even pretending to put the fix in, and and they say we're gonna flex on you to let you know who really has the power, and they did it, and that's where they are.
I hope that he gets a fair shot. And I hope, and even if we watch,
that's what I'm worried about too.
Yeah,
I'm worried if he's actually going to get a fair shot because, like I said earlier, we can say what we want, but when a team drafts you in the 5th round, if your name's not Tom Brady, right, and if your team drafts you in the 5th round, I mean, we could probably go look at 20 5th-round draft picks, and maybe 1 out of 20 turn out to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So the odds are against him, right? Doesn't mean he can't beat those odds, right? But I mean, the
talent is in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, his talent level is in his favor, and that's what's going to win out. He's got the job, so he
got a chance to compete. Mm-hmm.
Yes, if you got a chance to compete, it's like I said, no offense to any of those guys, but he's going up against some knuckleheads, some old guys, some guys have been traded, or a guy has been traded around to his 3rd team, I think now, and Pickett's, So Dylan Gabriel,
on his 32nd team.
Well, so does he have a chance? I think he's got a incredibly strong chance of being the starting quarterback
if they allow it to be a fair race.
Yep.
You saw that Ronald Argonauts drafted him, right?
Yeah, I saw that. I think I sent that to you guys. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Canadian football team, Toronto Argonauts. So they're banking on him not making it in the NFL. And man, you know how much exposure that's going to give the Toronto Argonauts in the Canadian Football League, right? If he goes up there and play. So that's going to be. I mean, I'm hoping he's the starting quarterback in Cleveland, and I'm just trying to be a realist as much as possible. I just don't see it. I really don't. I just don't see him getting that job over Kenny Pickett, and they drafted a quarterback ahead of him in the draft. And I'm rooting for the kid. I hope he is a starter. I want to get a Shedeur Sanders Browns jersey. I'm gonna get one for JQ too.
No, fuck you ain't.
Oh yeah, word on the show.
Now, man, you gotta apologize to Marcy twice now.
My bad, Marcy. My bad. My bad. But see, the problem is that Rob says things just to push my buttons. Are you wearing the St. Louis Cardinals hat?
You know, they're about to make you curse the third time now. Huh?
See, that's that bullshit. You see what I'm talking about? Because he knows he's playing the Reds right now. Is what I'm talking about. He does things to push my buttons, and so you have to excuse me. He knows good damn well they're playing the Reds.
Yes,
right
he
now.
is.
I thought Gary was a habitual line stepper. Now it's over to me.
Now it's you.
The title can switch. It fairly depends on who's for that night. Who's habitually line stepper for the night?
Okay, Rob.
Just as
I see what we're doing, just guerrilla warfare. Okay, I got you.
He's on fire. Josh Johnson.
Man, we went to the Saints Falcons game, man. You wore Falcons gear in front of me, man. That was a habitual
I
line
live
stepper.
in Atlanta. You don't live in St. Louis?
Oh man.
Let's go, Andre. What do you got? You were going to say something.
It's all in fun.
We're gonna wrap. I was just gonna say, Josh Johnson has played for the most teams in the NFL. Rob said 32 teams. That was a lot. I look it up. I was like, who's played for the most teams? And he actually plays for the Commanders. That's an interesting. Your boy Ryan Patrick plays for the Yeah, he's still playing. Yeah.
It feels like Joe Flacco was playing for every team.
Yeah, I know. I had to look it up. I was like, who's played for the most teams in the NFL? Boom, Josh Johnson.
That's a good trivia question right there.
Yeah, he's South Florida, Central Florida. Josh Johnson?
Yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick was on there too with the most. Vinny Testaverde and Josh McCown. Those are the ones. Those quarterbacks that play for the most teams, which is crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about a couple things. We're gonna wrap this up pretty quickly here. I want to talk about two things.
All right, you guys got something to say back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get his ass. Get him. Bite him.
I want to talk about. I do want to do some NBA really quickly, but I do want to talk about the stupidity of Jeff Ulbricht's son calling folks and prank calling, and obviously the NFL had to step in. They fined the Falcons $250,000. They fined Jeff Ulbricht $100,000, and this is. I'm sorry, Marcy. Jack should get his ass kicked, man. You don't do stuff like that, man. Come on, man. I mean, you don't mess with people's emotions like timeout. Oh, we're in a timeout. Come on, man. What?
How does he get his number?
He just looked on it. He looked on the iPad, and that's Jeff's fault. But I go back to Marcy. I was like, you don't think your kid's gonna literally look on the iPad and I'm gonna call somebody? Like, who the hell does that? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Don't conduct official NFL draft business in front of your kids, regardless of how much you feel like they're good and old enough to trust them. You don't do it.
The kids are in the room. The kids are in the room, JQ. Like, if you're in the war room,
in the room, little MFer, you gotta go because this is what happens.
You've seen that whenever kids are in the room. Like, it's just like, oh, they're hanging out, But I'm not giving it a pass. But I'm just like, who thinks that I gotta like? That's like, here's an iPad. Is Marcy gonna look over? Hey, I'm gonna call all your it doesn't make any why would you do that?
Marcy's a grown woman. He is a kid and said, "Ooh, I'm
He's 21 years old.
Right here, and he listen.
Don't make no excuses for him.
Mm-hmm. 21.
He is 20 years old, but he's 20, and we all 21. are. Sorry, 21.
Ultimately, this is
what kind of dumb shit we did as 21-year-olds.
Doesn't matter. You don't do stupid shit like that. I'm not gonna look at my dad's iPad. I'm gonna call. What type of shit is that, man? What type?
But that's why he got fined $100,000. You can't have it in front of your kids. Do that. NFL business. Don't open up in front of your family. Talk about it later. But in the midst of it, don't have your family around the official business. Is what I would say. It sucks. He should still be kicking his ass for doing it. But Jeff, don't have it open in front of the kids.
Yeah. Ultimately, this is Jeff Albert's fault. I totally agree with that. I know my wife was hot about it. She felt like Jeff should be fired. I don't think she's watching, but she felt like that Jeff should be fired.
She's not wrong because he got two likes a day ago with the access, and that's on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, like we could argue it till cows on both sides. I mean, I guess you got number one, yes, you shouldn't have info stuff open. I get that. But like, I guess the buck stops there for you guys. Like, I'm just like tripping out how like
it does because you shouldn't have access to that level of information.
Yeah, I mean,
if he got it from dad, then that's on dad for leaving that open for him to get. Now, if he went to the dark web and found it, then that's on the son, and you can't do nothing about that. Yeah. But if he had the iPad open and said, "Oh, this is Shedeur, we're talking about him," and Buddy said, "Oh, that's the number," and went do.
Yeah, that was classless all the way around. Then on the other hand, Shedeur Sanders should have known that it sounded like Mickey Loomis on the phone.
But why would you do that? But why would you call? Why would you like? That's premeditated. Why would you call somebody, go through and film it, go through that's where like shit just went off the rails, man. It's just like it's unbelievable, like kids nowadays. Like I'm beside
young and
myself.
dumb. Bro, we did dumb stuff, but we didn't have social media and have cameras on everything to capture all the foolishness we did. The four of us have done some dumb shit.
But this is what I'm saying. Even
this day and age,
even the stuff that we've done, JQ, we were not stupid enough to like film it. Like we'd be like, we did that. We talk about, man, we did that. Like,
we didn't have the ability to film it. Film it well, what?
We had a camera. We can still talk about everything for the draft, man. They had that there to capture everything.
Bro, at 21 years old for us, you talking about going to Walgreens and getting the 32 snap camera? We could film it with what? You gonna go get the big thing on your shoulder and try to film it?
But the point is, there's been some things that we've done that haven't been like, but even at that age, there's things like I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's good to kind of like talk about this, or like, even whenever we were going out, case in point, like for us, it was like, I'm telling myself, it was cool for us to see like an R-rated movie. Like we're gonna go, I'm gonna take all the cousins and we're gonna watch an R-rated movie, right? Now that was back in the day, right? So I'm like, okay, well, if I do this, I pinky swear this ain't never going outside the circle. Done. All right,
you can't see this on this. We can get a little shot. Marcy commented on the other cat, on the other chat. He's not a kid. He's 21 years old.
Yeah. Listen.
Let me agree. He knew better.
Let me. First of all, she's right. Let me take this back. He's still at 48 years. It's going to be 48 years old. When I hear 21, I view him as a kid. Right. So, but yes, he can go to war and all those other things. So no, he's not a kid, but he's still young and dumb. And as somebody that was 21 years old, as a young, dumb male, I did silly shit. And I didn't have social media and I didn't have the ability to film it and disseminate it and try to get cool off of it, even if I thought it was cool. But in my young state of mind, he has all those things right now. So was it dumb? Yes, but Jeff, you can't give him the keys to make those dumb decisions by keeping it open to allow him to have access to that information. That's on Jeff. You're still working. Whether it's cool or not to say, hey, I have Shedeur's number, his profile right here, you can say that, but you can't give him access to it. So that's where I put Jeff to it. But listen, that dude his son has clearly been, entitled his whole life. Because we all know when you did silly stuff when you was coming up, you got your ass kicked. And by 21, you knew better than to do that because you got your ass kicked enough in life going into your 21st year that, hey, man, I don't have these kind of problems with my mom and my dad. Sure don't. So both can be true. They can both be true.
Understood. Like I said, just maybe, like I said, I go back. We all done some dumb stuff, and I hear you. I'm gonna agree with you on that, and I agree that it's Jeff's fault. I'm just like, it baffles me that you think it's cool to. I'm gonna look at that's like leaving something open. I'm gonna like go into Gary's email because it's open. I'm gonna like fire off email. Like what type of literally? That's some.
I tell you this. If they really want to look into you, I bet you he has done more of this in the past. And that's not a prank call. or he had access to stuff, but he sent an email or messed with somebody or a burner account. If they really wanted to dig in Jeff and his son, I bet you they would find more stuff.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm gonna credit Shadeur here too. I'm gonna credit him for the way he handled the apology phone call, right? You know, he could have been really upset, and I'm sure he was, right? But he did really handle it well. And that, to me, this shows the maturity of Shadeur for accepting an apology and forgiving him, as well as Jeff. It doesn't make what he did right? But I thought Shadeur was very mature on the way he handled the apology phone call. He could have been extremely angry with that person.
Agreed.
100%.
Just like Giannis, because he could have.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
He said, JQ, you would have never done anything like that. No excuse.
No, because I've had the fear of God beaten into me up until that point. That's why I said both things could be true. That's why I think it's both.
I'm saying, like, who does that?
That's why I think it's both of their fault.
You see, you see this iPad? Hold on. You see this iPad? Hold on. This says Dad on it. This says Dad. Don't touch Dad's stuff. Oh, but that's Dad's stuff. I gotta be like, oh, what are you doing, Dad? What is this? Oh, what the hell?
Listen, Jeff showed him.
The hell?
Jeff has been showing him all this stuff this whole time. I'll be right back. But that's why I say Jeff is the part of this, because Jeff thought it was cool.
Oh, Jeff deserves all the blame. All the blame.
Yes, because he was talking about trying to be with his son, trying to be like, hey man, I love you, son. Let's see what we're doing. Ooh, look what Daddy got. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Man, we can make up all kinds of stories about this, man. We'll be here all day. Hey, I was gonna say this, I'm gonna say this for JQ because I got something to talk about him. So let's talk about Jordan Travis retired. Obviously, it's tough, man. He never came back from that injury. The leg didn't respond. Rehab. Pretty sad to hear about that. I do really want to circle back whenever we talk about somebody getting shot. Shadeur. This is the last point. I think the NFL effed up, and then one of the greatest quarterbacks in college football, Charlie Ward, never got an opportunity to play in the NFL. I think that's a travesty. I know it's going back, but this is a situation where I would love to see how he can play in the NFL, man. Because I think he was, ironically, pretty similar to kind of Shadeur. Accurate, didn't have the height, but just a winner. I mean, you talk about a cerebral player. We really missed out on not seeing that guy play in the NFL. I
don't think Charlie Ward, I don't think there was anything, obviously there's, we all can agree that we think some collusion was involved with Shadeur, but I don't think that was the case with Charlie Ward. I don't think they just didn't envision him as a NFL quarterback, unfortunately. We all think he could have played quarterback in the NFL, no doubt. In the Charlie Ward case, at that time, he was considered a better NBA prospect than he was a football prospect, right? And probably made more money playing basketball as a result of that.
Hell yeah.
But it's just tough because I don't think they were like, we don't even draft this guy. They didn't even look at that dude. I mean, that's crazy that this dude's a Heisman Trophy winner. Just like I said, I'll get off of that.
You're still talking, Rob. You're still kind of talking
about Charlie Ward. Let's go, FAMU.
You're still kind of talking about Sanders as if there was really nothing wrong with that intentional slide, and that's what it was. That wasn't just, he's not good enough, and all 32 teams are saying he's not good enough for 4 full rounds. Absolute, I find that incredibly hard to believe. I think that there was absolutely a collective conversation that let's teach this kid a lesson.
Yep.
Well,
and I think maybe even in the 5th round when he was selected, that Cleveland said, hey, they probably got to someone and said, hey, listen, we want to take him now. You think you think that's good enough? Or who knows? He may have slid even.
They certainly didn't look excited when they drafted him. I mean, if we all being honest here, Cleveland did not look, that draft room did not look excited when they drafted Shedeur Sanders. They did not. If we all being honest, they were.
I would have been.
I don't know if they got the directive for the owners to draft him, but they did not look excited when they drafted Shedeur.
You know who else didn't look excited? Me, Shaquan Jenkins, because I'm tired of this nonsense. Shedeur goes to Cleveland. Will Howard goes to Pittsburgh. Can we please send some of these MFers to the NFC? God bless. I wasn't excited.
A whole different ball, a whole different way with this conversation.
Who's not happy? Shaquan Jenkins. I love it.
Me?
He did not want to
Hey.
see Shedeur in Cleveland. He does not want to see Will Howard in Pittsburgh.
Dropping F-bombs. Like I was like, I'm at my show, like cracking up, like look at that. I'm like, what just happened? This Rob just
Listen.
said, like, oh man.
Do you know how bad I am in my household? How I've conditioned my girls? I was upstairs ironing my clothes because I had to go work a game. Youngest daughter comes upstairs. Daddy, what happened? You know, Will Howard just went to the Steelers. I said, what? You lying? She said, yeah. We knew you weren't going to be happy about that. And then turned around and went right back down the stairs. I said, true story. True story.
They were rubbing it in. We knew you weren't going to be happy about that.
We knew you weren't going to be happy about that. Turned around, ran right back out.
They could have left that to themselves.
Well, I don't know what's more. I don't know really know what's more impressive. You know, the fact that they knew enough about the game to come up there and tell you about a college prospect.
And the fact that they were watching the draft.
That was fantastic.
Because I had the draft on, but I had to leave to go work a game to do replay for them. So I had to walk away on the Pittsburgh. So I was like, F Pittsburgh. I don't want to see who they take anyway. I'll hear about it regardless. So I'm upstairs getting my stuff ready, and all I hear is, Daddy! You know Will Howard just went to Pittsburgh. What? Wait, what?
There goes the Will Howard jersey for Jake.
Wow.
And they got but dude,
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
man.
like Ohio State looks good.
Get back to Gary's point on the NFL colluding against Shedeur Sanders. And, you know, the NFL is coming out with all these, they're going to investigate prank calls. But you don't hear nothing from the NFL saying they're going to investigate the collusion. And that's nothing. Just the prank calls.
Well, that's Roger Goodell, who's that's his deal. And as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the he's the worst owner or the worst manager of a.
Oh yeah. I mean, four of us could go be commissioners in the NFL.
I mean, this guy was.
Right? I mean, come on.
This guy was so crooked when he first came in. All of these penalties against players and everything like that, and then just let the owners off with a little pat on the butt and a little let's go have a steak dinner.
What you think he was gonna do? They was paying him $33 million a year. You could tell me to go out here and say damn it, almost anything you want me to say. $33 million a year.
Oh, he's a puppet. He's the owner's puppet. You know?
He takes all the blows, the slings, and the arrows for the owners, and he gets a great price for doing such things. So I was like, I'm not surprised about that. You're gonna pay me how much? He said $35 million to go out there and have people call me an asshole, but this $35 million is guaranteed. You call me an asshole.
Must be the money. JQ, I promise I'm not picking on you, but I do want to. We're going to talk about Giannis, but I'm going to tell you this for the Lakers, right? And I think if the Lakers lose, then it should be a wake up call for Luka, because you're out of shape, Luka. You got to get your shit together, man. Because if you want to be the face of the league, man, come next year. You damn near had one of the best. You got one of the best players, in LeBron James. He's 40. You may got one more tour in him, but if they lose, bro, you better play some defense. You better come correct, my guy. And losing can help motivate somebody. So Ant-Man.
AJ Redick lost that game on Sunday.
Listen, no, he didn't. He sent them a message. He sent the message to the others that y'all suck, and I don't trust none of y'all to come out here and make a shot to save your life in this game. So I'm trying to get us back to this. Listen,
Gabe Vincent was on the finals team in Miami. You can't put Gabe Vincent in the game to buy some minutes.
I said what I said. He told everybody else at the end of the bench that y'all on borrowed time. Mm-hmm. What made Luka effective? He had Kyrie as another ball handler, right? Which the Lakers don't have. I mean, LeBron is not Kyrie in terms of his ball handling, in terms of orchestrating it. LeBron does it in a different way. But what you have to look at that Mavs team with the PJ Washingtons and all the rest of them, where they are young and athletic and can defend, the Lakers don't have that. So that was a lot of things that Dallas did last year to mask Luka's warts.
The Lakers don't have that right now, and it's coming very obvious that he needs very specific things at very specific positions to help mask him in terms of his defensive liabilities to on the back end and give him a lob threat on the offensive end. The Lakers don't have that. We got to remember by it, and then if we want to be honest, Austin Reeves hasn't been great in this series.
He hasn't.
He was the one that had to be the one to say, hey, when one of them go off the bench, Austin Reeves comes in and he gives you the same thing he was doing when they got on that run to get to the 3 seed. He's not been doing that because the Wolves have a whole lot of young, athletic wings who are out there in they shit. Yeah. Bottom line.
That's a good analogy.
That Mark Williams trade fell through this year. You knew the Lakers weren't going to go far this year, in my opinion, right? Yeah, they needed that Mark Williams trade to work. They needed him to be healthy. That was the big that this team needs, and that's what they're missing right now. Jackson Hayes not going to cut it. But I will stand by what I said. Oh, it looked like the Florida Panthers just eliminated the Lightning.
Wow.
Yeah, 6-3. But but moving on, obviously when that trade fell through, that was a big blow for the Lakers when that didn't work. I mean, that was the size that they needed. But I still stand by J.J. Redick not making any substitutions. Gabe Vincent was a key role player for that Miami Heat team a few years ago, right? And there's some other guys on it. They had a 10-point lead in the third quarter. He could have bought some time with some players to give those guys some rest, right? I still think J.J. Redick was the reason why they lost that game 4. I thought it was a horrible job coaching. I thought he did a phenomenal job as a coach during the regular season, but he's failing as a coach so far in his first playoffs. I think that cost the Lakers. I mean, LeBron's 40 years old. He had a lot of defensive stops in that fourth quarter, but he had nothing in the tank offensively, right? And, I don't think he scored any points in the fourth quarter in that game, and he got off to a great start in the first half of that game, right? But no substitutions, didn't buy no minutes with that 10-point lead, and that's what the great coaches would normally do. And, I blame that loss totally on J.J. Redick on Sunday.
I don't. 10-point lead is not a 17-point lead. A 10-point lead is just a couple of buckets and you're down by 6 or down by 4 or whatever.
You think Phil Jackson was a good coach, Gary?
What's that?
You think Phil Jackson was a good coach?
I think he was an opportunistic coach, yes. Opportunistic coach, yes.
Opportunistic coach.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson was the master at buying time with his players and rotating them in and out of the game to make sure they were rested for the clutch moments, right? And there were some times where he didn't really have the best.
His rotation was usually six players, 7 players.
No, he went about 8, 9.
Come on, Gary.
Phil Jackson.
If he would have rotated 1 or 2 guys in the game, that would have been enough to buy some minutes, right? Phil Jackson bought minutes, even when he had 7-point leads, 8-point leads.
Why are you comparing Phil Jackson?
You're not going to have a 17-point lead in the NBA all the time, right? Those 8.9-minute leads are crucial for you buying minutes for your players so they can be ready and healthy down the stretch.
Wow. We're gonna wrap this up. Unless you and JQ, I do want to hear about your thoughts about the Bengals, but really quickly.
Why? That's sorry ass draft. They suck. There it is.
We just got to respond. David Bentley, my buddy I went to elementary school with. Yeah, I think JJ's realizing playoff coaching is different. So he's the reason why they lost the game.
I think he was tired of them.
Is Jared still a fan? Does Jared still hit you up, Rob? Who? Jared, does he still hit you up and everything like that? Jared, remember Jared?
Yeah, occasionally, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know if he's still that's a random.
Oh, you're thinking about Roderick? Yeah, he's a Lakers fan.
Roderick? There's 2 Rodgers. Roderick, I thought. Okay, Roderick. Okay, I got you. Okay, my bad. Let's talk about Giannis real quick. It feels like the Bucks have been on borrowed time. They've been trading away players. Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton. They tried to get what's up with Kyle Kuzma. That dude has been terrible. You went all in on Dame, and unfortunately,
quadruple zeros in game 1.
Quadruple zeros.
It's terrible, right?
He did. Yeah, 0 points, 0 rebounds,
it was right.
0 assists.
You went all in.
Everything.
Yeah, exactly.
We should still be in LA.
Yeah, the quintet 0 of zeros, really.
He should still be in LA. Is the problem?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Giannis in
Yeah.
this instance because you went all in on Dame, and then at this juncture, you had the blood clot. Question if he came back too soon. Now the Achilles tear. What is he? 37, 36. It's going to be tough to come back from that. And right now, the Bucks don't have a lot of draft picks. Who's going to come? There's no one coming to save Giannis, and Giannis is probably going to say the right thing. But Rob, is this his last year, man? I mean,
I think it's
has he played his last game for the Bucks?
I definitely think this is his last year in Milwaukee, and I tell you why. If their roster stay the way it's constructed right now, they have no chance of being a title contender next year without Dame Lillard, right? And so I think I don't know if he's going to ask for a trade. I think he probably will ask for a trade, to be honest, right? So I think this is his last year in Milwaukee. And look, and there's some teams out there. OKC, think about this for a second. Think about all the draft picks OKC have right now, right? And they still have the salary cap space. Jalen Williams is still on this rookie contract, right? They have the cap space. They can trade a lot of draft capital for Giannis and build a powerhouse Western Conference team in OKC. So to me, that's a team. Yeah. Another team to watch, the Houston Rockets, right? Another team got some young players still on the rookie contract. They can make some moves there as well to squeeze Giannis in there too. Their team is knocking on the door, still in the playoffs. They were able to win tonight against the Warriors. But they're another team that can watch and maybe add Giannis to be a missing piece for a possible title contender. And then another team to watch, Spurs, right? If Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, and if you can add a Giannis to the mix, right? And they have the trade capability to squeeze that in their cap too as well. And then the last two teams I'll add, Pat Riley makes miracles happen, right? You can add the Miami Heat as a possibility there. And then, of course, you can't rule out the New York Knickerbockers.
The Lakers.
Lakers too. Could be, yeah.
That's where I'm thinking. Why go anywhere else?
Nico.
I wouldn't go anywhere else if I were him. I would want to go to the Lakers. Unfortunately,
Listen,
that's where he's probably going to end up. I don't see OKC making a whole bunch of. They like that draft capital. They don't. That.
They got 37 draft picks, Gary. They got more than enough, man.
You got, but the thing about it is, you have to also. It's one thing to trade for somebody, but they have to re-sign, right? Same thing the Lakers have to figure out with Luka and convince Luka to re-sign with LA. Like, it's all well and good. We presume that he's going to stay in LA, but if this happens this way, he looks around and says, "Yeah, I ain't got enough to keep me happy," or feel like when LeBron goes away, what do I do? And I'm now sitting here struggling out in LA by myself. Like that, to me, that's not a foregone conclusion that he stays in LA. So you have that piece of it. So when you talk about the draft capital, yes, Oklahoma City makes a lot of sense for that. But does Giannis get to the point where he wants to say, "Hey, man, I want to go to a big city"? So you can't give up 4 first-round picks, and he leaves after it because this is last year, I think, going right into this next year, right in this contract. So you can't presume that, but you also have to say it might not be just Giannis wanting to leave Milwaukee. Milwaukee might look around for what you talk about. You got 85-year-old Brook Lopez. You got, 87-year-old Dame Lillard coming out from an Achilles injury, and Kyle Kuzma coming out there and seek up the joint. They're looking around like, what is our best chance to recoup some draft capital and get a young star in here?
This is how we get. Yep. No, I agree with that, JQ. I think you're spot on with that one. I think it's going to be a two-way street here. I think Giannis is going to want out, and I think Milwaukee is going to want to. This is their opportunity to rebuild because without Dame, they're just not a title contender next year. They're just not. And Dame's not going to go for that. Milwaukee's going to a good opportunity. But, I don't know if Giannis is totally like a big city guy, though. So I think he would, any of those teams, I think he would be interested in going to.
I think he wasn't. This is why I slightly disagree with you. I think he wasn't when he first got here. He was humble. He was that. But the more you hear him talk and the way he acts, and he's gotten that ring now where he can do what he feels like, he's feeling himself a little bit. Like I don't know if he wants to go to another small city. I don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying, look, I mentioned Houston, I mentioned Knicks and Miami, and those three are three big markets. So I'm not
Right.
saying he won't go to a big market, but I think for an opportunity to be on a championship, he goes to OKC, man, that team could be a title contender for the next 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years, right?
Easily.
Easily, right? So, I
Easily.
mean, that's going to be an
Easily.
appealing opportunity. If you're playing this game to win championships, right? You talk about Giannis, SGA, a young Jalen Williams, a Chet Holmgren, and one of the things that they've done is they've also added these glue guys like Alex Caruso and Isaiah
Joe.
Hartenstein, right? So
And
they've
Joe.
added these guys that could be good role players
Yep.
on a team. So if it comes down to winning, you want to win championships, Giannis, OKC is an extremely attractive place to be, and they have, as Andre mentioned, all the draft capital in the world to make that trade and the salary cap space to make that trade happen.
As long as they meet somewhere else and not in OKC, because as soon as if he gets to OKC, he's going to say, "Yeah, no thanks, fellas."
I've never been to OKC, so I'm not going to talk about the city, but
I have many times.
For the love, it looks like Rob is going to be Giannis's agent, and for the love of God, please don't bring that Thanasis. Please, for the love of God, please do not let that.
It's a package deal.
See any roster. Oh my goodness gracious! That please no.
But I agree. I mean, he can still want. I mean, I talked about Houston. Houston is a big market. Miami, the Knicks, of course, in big markets. I could see him with any one of those teams. You can never rule the Lakers out, right? But they can always find a way. So there's definitely a possibility. But I think there's two small markets you're gonna have to watch, and that's OKC and San Antonio.
Dirty ass.
JQ, you're not happy with the Bengals draft? You're not happy with the Bengals draft, JQ, at all?
Hell no. Well, hold on. Let me back that up. We spent a lot of time talking about need versus value. I feel like the Bengals went there saying, hey, we have to hit these spots, right? And they went and evaluated the people and they fell in love with dudes. And I feel like they overdrafted in almost every round, except for probably Taj Brooks in the seventh round. Is why I'm not happy about it. Because if you want that guy, and you gotta also know what the consistency is across the, you gotta be able to read the tea leaves, right? They could have moved back, picked up some more spots, got the same guy, and had more ammunition in the draft. That's where they lose me. I'm not saying those guys can't be good players. I just don't feel like they got the value for the need where they picked them at in the draft, and that's why I don't feel like it's a good draft. And they didn't pick up a safety or a cornerback. How the hell you go through a whole draft and pick up a safety and a cornerback and you give up damn 35 points a game? How? Make it make sense. Like we gotta have some competition in the room. Like it just can't be because the front seven did get home. Some of that has to be on the back end. You have to put some level of trying to improve that group, the safety and the cornerback group, and make competition a real thing in training camp to make sure you get the best of the best. So I love them getting guards. I still think they overdrafted for them, and I love what they tried to do on defense. I just don't like the value that they picked up at the spots they tried to pick for the need. It was a pure need draft, and I just that's where they lose me.
I thought the only one they really overdrafted though was Demetrius in the second round.
Way overdrafted him. He probably was like a fourth or a fifth round pick.
Well, let me finish. He was the one that I thought they really overdrafted on the most, right? I had him going somewhere like, to your point, third or fourth round at best. So he was the one I definitely think they overdrafted on. Shamar Stewart, I think that's a good pick for them at 17. I know you had talked about you thought they should have got Mike Green to go to the second round, right? And
it's crazy. So Baltimore.
I wanted Walter Nolan, but Arizona messed that plan up. But at that point where they take Nolan, they messed it up. Look,
if Walter Nolan was on the board, you got to take him over Shamar Stewart. I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Shamar Stewart is a freakish athlete. Now look, he didn't give you the sack production in college that you would want from an athlete like that, only 4.5 sacks. But the guy, he holds the edge on the run game as good as anybody in this draft from the end position, right? So he's going to help you in the run game. And I think with the right coach, right, you can get that pass rush ability out of him because he's a freakish athlete, right?
Al Golden.
Al Golden, you're going to have to bank on him. And the offensive guard from Georgia in the third round, I thought that was quality value there. Taj Brooks, the running back in the 6th round, quality. I'm not going to give the Bengals an A, but I think it's at least a B.
No, you don't.
Draft.
It's a C. for the fact you took that one dude 2 rounds too high. Makes it a C at best. When you overreach for somebody for 2 rounds?
No, it wasn't a C grade on.
Shit.
No way.
He's been hard on this team.
Man.
Refresh my memory.
What do you think about the
What are
Falcons?
the Bengals getting the 4th and 5th round?
He's mad.
I like the kid. I like the kid from
He's
Clemson to
mad.
play linebacker.
Oh yeah, that's a good pick.
Carter. That's a
You
good
got
pick.
him in the 4th round. Okay.
Yeah. But my thing is, I think they just took one linebacker too many. Like they let Jermaine
Bump
Pratt
that up
come
to a
in
B
here.
minus.
Crazy. Say what?
Bump that up to a B minus.
No.
I think it's at least a B minus in my opinion. Who did they get in the 5th round? Refresh my memory. I'm not looking at any notes here.
They got the guard from Miami.
Oh, the offensive tackle, Jalen Rivers.
Rivers.
Yeah. Like I said, to me, the only one they reached on was Demetrius Knight in the 2nd round. I would agree with you. That was a reach. I didn't think he was going to go that high in the draft in the 2nd round.
Listen, that ain't just a
I
reach.
think he still will have an impact on that team. But
Yeah.
I didn't think 2nd round for sure.
To me, in the 2nd round, you went and signed another Jermaine Pratt. And if you replace him with that, you have the same problems you have with Jermaine Pratt. You can't cover the tight end and the running back out the backfield. You can't take that dude in the 2nd round. You got the same problem. You just got younger. It's the same problem. And you know it right. That's why he's a 4th round pick graded, because he can't cover the tight end or running back. That is Jermaine Pratt's problem. Is he a thumper? Yes. But if you scheme against Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely and them other dudes and Joku, you're like, they're going to go right at him. And that's what they do. So why you just got younger, but you got the same problem and you overdrafted him. You're right. The 2nd round pick is what killed me the most for the Bengals draft.
I don't think the Bengals got any steals in the draft, but I thought all 5 picks were right at where they were valued, except for Demetrius Knight. But I do think the Bengals have one of the better undrafted free agent classes, too. Getting Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State, who I thought was going to be somewhere at least around the 4th or 5th round in the draft. So I thought getting him as an undrafted free agent, and it was another offensive lineman who I thought was a steal, getting him as undrafted. Let's see, go back and look at my notes. But I do think the Bengals have one of the better undrafted free agent classes.
I give you that. Yeah, I was just talking about the draft itself, and we don't have to keep talking about it because I know the free world doesn't care about the Bengals like I do, so it's fine.
Everyone had a chance to talk about that, though. I mean, that's the fun thing, because again, Gary gave each individual player a grade, which was fantastic. He's like, I gave this guy A, I gave this B. We loved it, man. We gave
overachieved.
And Gary is an overachiever, and I was like the most like homer person. Like I'm like A, and everyone Robert's like, you get a B or you get an incomplete. I'm like, what? So I'm like,
Caleb Etienne, offensive tackle from BYU. I had him going somewhere in the 5th to 6th round. The Bengals got him as undrafted free agent. They got 2 offensive linemen that I thought were going to get drafted as undrafted guys. Caleb Etienne from BYU, and then of course Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. But I was just talking about the draft itself. They have done a really good job, in my opinion, in the undrafted piece of it. To me, it's just a competition. I'm just not a fan of the back end for the Bengals in terms of the secondary. And I just don't think they did enough to address that, me personally, with what they're going to have to deal with. So basically you're saying we got to get home. We can't let the quarterbacks be able to pat it, because if they start patting, they're in trouble. Like, you better get home and get the ball out their hands, because if they have time, that back end, to me, just won't hold up.
Mm-hmm. They just picked up the 5th-year option today on one of your corners.
Yeah, that sorry bastard from Michigan, Daxio.
What happened?
You said it. I wanted to bring up the Michigan part.
Well, listen, I did shit.
Oh, man.
He's a grumpy old man tonight.
Marcy, you're going to have to start collecting $100 each from every curse word from these dudes.
I'm just saying.
Man. Hey, what did you think about the Falcons draft? JQ, you thought we did okay, though? Uh-oh.
The problem is drafting to get back into the 1st round and having to give up that 1st round pick next year, where who did the same thing and they didn't give up a 1st round pick, makes it look bad for a
Giants. The Giants.
Yes, for Jackson Dart. Yeah. And we talked about Buddy from Tennessee being off a draft for us for being too crazy. So to give up a 1st round pick next year, when the Giants pulled off basically the same trade and didn't do it, and then you went for a real, hey man, he could be. His spectrum is so wide. It's the only thing about him is that he doesn't have the talent. No, but he has the talent. But when we talked about it going into it, when people take you off the draft boards because you're just too wild, that's a lot to risk on it. Is my only thing with that. It's like to me, it goes back to it. Me and you talk about it all the time, the value of it. Another team doing the same thing you do and get more value, and you take a more. It's like us taking Burton from Alabama. He can't even get on the field because he's too crazy. I don't want that to happen for the Falcons, with Pierce. So I'm not mad at the Falcons. I like the aggressiveness. It's just that when another team does the same thing you do and they get better value and you get a player that is more of a
Well, they were saying that the pick that and it's going to be hopefully in the 20s because you think you're going to be better than obviously, but you never know. But again,
go ahead. But this is not the NBA. The NBA, you say that about a 20 player in the 20s in the NBA, like he's at best a rotational player. He might be G League. In the NBA, because it's only a couple rounds, you say that. In the NFL, you can listen. Lamar Jackson is a three-time MVP, win the 20s.
That's not what I'm saying.
Make that statement.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the fact is if you're projecting ahead, we're trying to say we didn't give up our first round pick this year. So again, we got to pick. That's important. If we give up this year's first round pick. And it's
next year.
Talk about splitting.
It's next year's first round pick, right?
Listen to what I'm saying. Like again, we could have hey, we got to give up this year. Like there's a lot of things that we're thinking about for this pick. Yeah. Right? So even going into next year, I'm going to say at this point, like if you're saying, all right, we're assuming that we're going to be better than we were. Obviously, that pick should be like in the 20s. Is what we're thinking. 15. That's what we're hitting the playoffs. So the player in the 20s next year we're thinking James Pierce now is better than the player we're getting in the 20s. That's what we're trying to say at that junction.
Well, again, right?
It's going to be.
This is JQ. We talked about this early on in the show because, of course, Andre wanted to talk about the Falcons.
He's not happy. They're not happy. They're not. Hey, you talk about the Saints at LSU all the time, and I had my own little shot.
I didn't even have the Falcons and the Saints on the topics tonight, but you brought it up. But it's all good. I'm just messing with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I asked him about his team.
Pushing buttons.
No. Yeah, yes, he is tonight. I mean, I get the comparison of it, and I'm not saying he doesn't have that talent, but the risk reward for him, that guy in particular, when people take him off the draft boards, not because of a medical or what he can do on the field, just because they feel like he just might go crazy and shoot up the club. Like that is the piece of it. It was like, will he be there and still be viable for the team? Because if he goes to what they think that he might be able, that part of his demons or personality. That's my only real piece of it, only because of that piece of him. Yeah. His talent is there. His talent is crazy. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I said this early in the show. If it wasn't for trading the first round pick in next year's draft, I would give the Falcons draft about an A-, or maybe even an A. I was pretty high on James Pierce. I still had a first round grade on him, right? So there's not the value is there to me at 26, right? And one of the reasons why I say that, almost every draft you can put an incomplete grade on until 2 or 3 years, right?
Right.
So this is one of those drafts that you almost got to wait and see how the Falcons do this year before you really can put a real grade on. And that's why I said I'm gonna start with a B, but I think it has the potential to go up to an A or possibly even down to a C, depending on what kind of season the Falcons have this year, right? If the Falcons miss the playoffs and they traded away a top 10 pick in this draft, right, then that's a huge failure. Right now, if they make the playoffs and they pick it in the 20s again, okay, you get a 20, you pick the 26th pick and you traded another pick in the 20s. That's not bad, right? Yeah. But it's going to all come down to what kind of season they're going to have on this year, right? But the value, Jalen Walker, I thought was good value at 15. I think Pierce, 26. Yeah. I think Xavier Watts. Getting him in the third round, I had a second round grade on him. Heck of a pick. Billy Bowman, I think there was a slight reach there. You got him in the third. I had him going in the fourth. And then, Nelson, offensive tackle from Wisconsin, kind of went right where I had him going in the seventh round. So,
Kobe Bryant, Nick Nash, what? Undrafted? What?
The Kobe Bryant one is ridiculous. That to get him undrafted, that's a great pickup.
I'm like, let's go. Quincy Skinner, Josh Simon. I'm like, where are we getting? Like, we like cleaned up, and I'm like, let's go.
Those guys were expected to be undrafted, but the Kobe Bryant was definitely a great pickup.
Yeah, I get you. Nick Nash was drafted too, though, for San Diego State. He was second.
No, I haven't gone undrafted.
You had it. Well,
and that's why it's like, yeah, and that's why I went to Matt the Bengals. Like, why don't you go get Kobe Bryant? Like,
yeah, the Kobe Bryant and the Joshua Gray. Those are two guys. Joshua Gray, I had him going in the 7th round. You got him undrafted, so that's kind of a win for the undrafted. And Kobe Bryant, I definitely had him going like 4th, 5th round. So getting him as an undrafted, I think, was a steal too.
Yeah, he must be.
Yeah, Nick Nash undrafted. You had Nick Nash undrafted too. He was like one of the top catchers in FBS. Right behind.
No, I had Nick Nash going undrafted. I never had him in any 7th round mock.
That dude's man. Whew. I know he's like 20 to 35 years old, but it's all good. We got him. It's all good. He's 24. He ain't like Tyler Saul that's been around 7 programs. We gotta wrap this up. I know. We have
Let's talk about my Saints.
I'm messing with you, man, because again, you had to pick my buttons, man. So it's right back at you, man. So somebody had a cue like the Saints like walked away from the draft and auto draft kicked in for Tyler. I was like, oh, they're going off, man.
What was that?
That was they're like, they said that the Saints have stepped away and the
I saw that. Yeah, I did see that.
They're like,
auto draft trying to show like a fantasy football draft.
Like, what just happened?
That's terrible.
Tyler Slowe's like, what?
Look, I actually had,
like you said,
we talked about this early in the show. If you go back and look at some of my mocks, I actually had Tyler going to the Saints at 40 in 2 of my mocks. And but at the same time,
I didn't have Shedeur
was going to be available.
Right.
So that's the reason why I dropped the Saints grade down, because it's not that I don't think Tyler was worthy of a 2nd round pick. I just didn't think Shedeur was going to be there. So to me, that's why I dropped their grade down a bit.
You don't want to take him early, right, Rob? You're like, I don't want to take him in the 1st round.
No, I don't think Shedeur. Look, we could talk about Shedeur all day. I don't want to beat the kid up, but I thought number 9 was way too high for Shedeur Sanders. Even when the Carr stuff came out, you guys remember I was adamant the Saints are not going to take Shedeur at 9. They're not.
Yeah.
It turned out they weren't going to take him at all. It seems like.
You took that threat seriously. They took that threat seriously.
They did.
Man. Anyway, well, like I said again, it's been a fun show.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure for you guys, starting at 9 o'clock was good. I mean, 6 o'clock out here on the West Coast. So
sorry, I was late.
I had to scramble to make it on time.
Yeah, I mean, that 10 o'clock it's actually a good time because it gives us a little bit, kind of, all right, I was knocking out some stuff and, you have to get ready around 8 or so. So, 10 is a little better, but I know it's going to be late. So we're literally in the exact same time.
It's not even 11 o'clock there for you guys, man. You can have a real good night's sleep into this time. We used to start the show at 11, and now we ended at 11.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'm going to go to bed right now. Nice. Not right now, but right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
I'm gonna go watch. It's still early here, so I'm gonna watch the Lakers and the T-Wolves.
I'm not watching that shit.
Everyone, thanks for tuning in. We're going to be back at you on next week. Stay tuned. Follow us on Talkin Sports with the 12th Man. You'll get an update on when our show is going to be on next week. We want to hear from y'all from the East Coast to the West Coast. We want to hear about your teams in the draft. We want to hear about the NBA playoffs. We want to hear from Hollywood and LA, right? Or Clippers and the Lakers going to be eliminated, right? Is that going to really happen? Denver, Nikola Jokic is coaching the team and playing, right? Are they going to go far? We'll see. Houston staying alive, Maybe John Travolta, right? Staying alive, right? They're still in it. There you go, JQ.
Man,
He's tired.
JJ Redick, play some extra players.
Yeah, JJ. Play your bench, man. You got guys that play
You
NBA.
got like 12 players on the bench. It's okay to play other players. It's okay. It's okay to play other players. I'm just saying.
They got hot
Okay.
22 hot ass points in the first quarter. I'm going to bed. I'm not doing this with y'all.
Yeah,
night.
26. Thank you. Good night, guys. Next week.
Good night, everyone.
Hey, ooh.
I'm walking over here.